My name is Matthew Todd, and welcome to Inside the Scale Up. This is the podcast for founders and executives in tech looking to make an impact and learn from their peers within the tech business. We lift the lid on tech businesses, interviewing leaders and following their journey from startup to scale up and beyond, covering everything from developing product market fit, funding and fundraising models to value proposition structure and growth marketing. We learn from their journey so that you can understand how they really work, the failures, the successes, the lessons along the way, so that you can take their learnings and apply them within your own startup or scale up and join the ever-growing list of high-growth UK SaaS businesses. Hi and welcome back to the podcast. Joined today by Shwetank Tamer from Cooee, and great to have you on the podcast. I'd like to kick things off with the guests introducing themselves, telling us a little bit about your background, about your company as well. So, over to you, please.
Hi all, this is Shwetank. I'm founder and CEO of Cooee. For people who still haven't figured out what Cooee really means, go check out the dictionary. It's an English word which means calling out, and that is what our brand is all about. We help e-commerce and digital brands invite and entice their customers. That helps them boost sales and repeat purchases. My background, I've spent about 15 plus years with enterprise sales, majorly working with very large telcos. Was living out of a suitcase for many, over a decade. And that helped me and gave me an exposure to work in about 60 different countries. Why and how I came about to Cooee is something that was building up throughout. And used to be a very common thing that we go and create products, digital apps and websites for these enterprise customers, build really nice product features, UI, UX. Then, of course, they wanted customers. So, we'd spend money on digital marketing and bring in those app downloads, etc. But these customers will still call us in 3 months later saying, nobody's using it. And that's where the whole thing dawned upon that this was a global problem. And if you look at it the other way, that you and me, everyone here, Matthew, uses a smartphone today. On an average, there are about 80 to 90 apps on our devices. But we end up using only 5. These 5 products or services are not the best products, maybe. However, why we end up using them is because they use deep tech for user engagement. So it doesn't matter how amazing your product is, how much money you spend on bringing the customer. What also makes a huge difference in today's world is what you do of the customer data and how you engage your customers. And this was a big problem for organizations. And that's why I thought that my next chapter in the journey was gathering all my experience from the professional career and then trying to, develop this AI low-code platform that is in the shape and form of Cooee today.
I see. That sounds really interesting. I want to dig into more about what some of those features on the platform look like, what you've got planned for the future. But given that experience then that you had with those kind of enterprise customers, how did you identify the things that were needed to solve those engagement problems that you saw? So
I think one of the most important things that we all should realize is customer data, right? It's becoming more and more, I would say, prevalent with GDPR a few years back, mostly in the European and the Western world. People now understand that brands do collect and gather their data as well, right?
Yeah.
But what most of the small and medium scale guys still don't understand is gathering data is not even, half the battle won, because you need to be able to generate insights from that data and then deploy it in such a way so that you can deliver that experience to the customer.
Yeah.
That's the second part. And the third part is have the system interconnected in such a way that you're continuously learning from that data. Is it working or it's not working? There are a lot of companies today who talk about AI. In my opinion, AI is the most abused term, for the past 2 to 3 years. Everybody
Yeah.
you talk about is using AI, but what they don't know is if the input of the data, the formatted data is not correct, AI is always going to give you wrong outputs. So what we understood was even large enterprises, they use on an average 8 platforms to deliver customer engagement.
Yeah.
And every time data hops between one platform to the other, it's like Chinese whisper, right? Because uh, whatever kind of standardization you do, every platform has their own ways and stores and formats to store data.
Yeah.
So there needed to be a mechanism which is more horizontal rather than verticalized, where you can really gather data, deliver their engagement, and also continuously learn from it. And all of this based on the most important thing to delight your digital customer is, how you can personalize their experience. So we got on a mission to build this platform which helps with customer data, drawing those insights, and helping brands increase their sales at the end of it.
Yeah. And do you have an example of the kinds of insights that you're able to generate and how brands are able to use those to deliver a better experience?
Yes, Matthew. So typically, if you've used any other engagement platform, right, what happens is you go to your graphic designer on a Photoshop, right, and excuse me, you'll ask them to create 5 different images, and
Yeah.
those 5 different images are usually, if I am a fashion brand, are of the 5 new things that I'm launching in the season, for example, or the 5 top bestsellers that I have.
Yeah.
And this information of what are the top bestsellers is something which is coming out of my analytics platform. So I need to go and see which is the product which is doing well, and then I get that image created, and then I create that segmentation, and then I run a campaign, and then I pray. Right?
Yeah.
That's how the legacy platforms work. The way we've designed is because we gather the customer data on what they're doing, what they're clicking on, what they're buying, etc., inside your digital store, we automatically show this to the brands who use Cooee's platform that this was your top performing asset, or this is something what has delivered the maximum amount of sales in the past 7 days.
Yeah.
And that product is then promoted to the people automatically who haven't bought that thing, right? So that's such a huge starking difference in the approach.
Mm.
Approach becomes very one to one rather than, hey, what this is what I have, and now I want to push it to 100,000 people, and I just want to see how it goes. So that is how an insight driven campaign or engagement can be delivered using our platform.
I see. So it's going beyond segmentation then to say what type of customer is this, to kind of go narrower into, well, what are their buying behaviors? Have they bought this? As you say, have they not bought this? In order to then determine, what actions you can then push out to them to drive more engagement. Is that right?
Yeah, and funny enough, you mentioned the word segmentation because that's a very deep learning for us in the past 2 years. Is when we build a platform, and because it was a platform built from scratch up,
Yeah.
we did not do anything on segmentation. Right? We thought it is going to be a one-to-one personalized platform. It's just about a customer persona at an individual level rather than bucketing them in every 50,000 user and then segmenting and running things. Right?
I see.
Of course, this takes time because no AI can work very well without an appropriate amount of data. But what we realized is when we go and started demoing our platform to customers, and they're like, yeah, this is amazing, everything's good, but I want segmentation.
Yeah.
And I'm
Okay.
like, why would you want segmentation when you can deliver it one to one?
Mm.
No, because just what I'm used to it, right? I want that manual control to do it. And
Yeah, I see.
we actually had to build segmentation coming back just to go and, because change is difficult. And we understand that that's a human psyche. And you're so used to in your comfort zone So segmentation is a very funny topic, and but a very important learning for us. But yeah, we definitely go beyond segmentation because we are one-to-one kind of a platform.
I see. And I think that's really interesting because I think a lot of people might approach that problem as how can we use data to improve our segmentation or automate elements of the segmentation. But what you're talking about is essentially a hyper personalization, a segment of one, really, where you can use a lot more data, a lot more insights combined with that AI, as you mentioned, to deliver something genuinely personalized. I think the terms personalization are often overused, and I'm sure we've all received templated emails that are obviously templated, or they've not done the templating right, and you get high percent first name or whatever it might be. But I think true personalization definitely goes beyond those very rudimentary kind of techniques.
And to add to that, Matthew, uh, what is true personalization is again subjective, different brands, different approaches, etc. And like the way industry works, right? There are different ways to solve a particular problem.
Yeah.
Our stab at it is based on what a customer is looking at, surfing, clicking, buying, not buying, the category, the genre of products on a particular website.
Yeah.
We gather this data, and this data is automatically fed into our AI platform and different machine learning pipelines. And then we combine multiple AI algorithms to create a unique image for every single user at scale. And then that image is delivered to them in a form of a notification, a pop up. And then we are also building the omni-channel stack that this image can also be part of an email or a WhatsApp or that kind of communication.
I see.
Because when you kind of deep down break this image into further view, that image is a product recommendation based on what you bought or what you like. It has some personalization that we can personalize it with your name. We've started working with GPT-2 and GPT-3 to personalize some text for you.
Yeah.
Then we add a layer of price optimization algorithm there by discounting. So not everybody is just given a 20% off straight away, but it's like, what product am I promoting you? What is the price of that product? And what's your propensity to spend? What's your ARPU? And then machine learning calculates that this customer should be given a 20% and this should be given a 22%.
Yeah.
And then we add the call to action button. And all this is created on an image using computer vision. So, and what I mean is if we select that Matthew liked a white shirt last time, and let's try and promote him a gray shirt, for example.
Yeah.
The image of the gray shirt is taken, and then we find out that where is the space on that image where we can add the other layers of text, discount, call to action button without these information coming on top of the shirt.
Okay,
because we want the customers to be able to look at the shirt, but also have the other elements. So this is quite complex deep tech that we've been able to achieve. And the last part of personalization level layer that we've added, we also deliver this on time-based or event-based personalized to every single user, understanding on a mobile app, what is the best time to send them this push notification based on the usage, and on digital web, e-commerce website, where did they bounce last time? Was it the third category page that the customer, did not purchase? So we will show this notification to them on the second page so we can prevent bouncing.
I see. It sounds very multi-layered and very detailed, but very impressive. I think it certainly sounds like what you've been able to achieve would, otherwise require a very specialized team and multiple disciplines and analysts and graphic designers and everybody else to come together to do that. That certainly could never be scaled, certainly not profitably.
Yeah, and this is a very interesting part that you bring in, Matthew, is when we were even talking to those very large companies about having this deep tech personalization, like what Netflix does today is based on the kind of genre of content you like, they show different parts of the thumbnail to different people of the same movie,
Yeah.
right? So, for example, let's take Stranger Things as a show, which is very popular. And if I like humor, then the thumbnail of Stranger Things shown to me will be, the boys laughing there or having fun or smiling, enjoying.
Yeah.
But if somebody else likes horror and thriller, then the image that they see is going to be completely different. So these top brands have set the benchmark so high. They leave that kind of taste in the digital consumer of today that they expect similar kind of things with every brand. But when you talk about data science, when you talk about putting the money, etc., 80 to 90% of AI models don't go into production.
Right.
So even if you spend $500,000 to hire 5 data scientists working on a project for the past 2 years developing algorithms, the return of investment or surety that this is going to bring you increased revenue is like 2:8 kind of a ratio.
Yeah.
So makes it just incredibly hard. That's why we've been trying to develop these models where we started with as a generic model for recommendation, price optimization, and all the other things.
Yeah.
And then slowly, with more and more data, we are trying to also get, custom industry-based models. Like we work with a lot of food tech, a lot of fashion. So now we
Yeah.
have models which can help those industries very specifically and deliver results.
I see. So you're approaching it industry by industry then in order to improve and train those models for particular types of products as well as behaviors?
Yes, we started more generic
Yeah.
because overall, we wanted to build the whole, I would say, the brain of the platform first, which is the whole mechanism of having these multi-layer personalization, deliver a single image, etc. But eventually, if we are talking about personalization, even that 0.1% increase in number of clicks can generate incremental revenue for customers, and that's what we're aiming to. So we are getting more and more inside uh, specific e-commerce verticals and specializing into that now.
I see. That makes a lot of sense. And in terms of when you decided to try and get this off the ground, then how did developing that generic model, how did you go about gathering enough data to even be able to take on board the first customers and generate a meaningful impact?
So 3 parts to that, Matthew. First one is we knew that we will not be able to show the value of one-to-one personalization at the start, right? We were honest with our customers. We told them that, guys, depending on the scale, the whole AI automation can take between 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
Right? If you have pre-existing data that includes Google Analytics or any of the softwares, give it to us so we can feed that in our system. So we did that for multiple customers. So we were not perfect from day one, but we were not starting from ground zero.
I
We
see.
had some data, so there's some level of personalization we could do. There are some customers that we onboarded who didn't have any previous data,
Yeah.
but having that ability to deliver these kind of notifications that we allow them to do in a Canva-based interface where you don't need data scientists and you don't need designers, it still was a huge improvement for what they could already do.
Yeah, I see.
Right? So we reduced their operation times. We reduced their spend on multiple other platforms. They could use just one instead of replacing those 4 or 5 there, spending multiplier there. So
Yeah.
they saw value right on day one. And eventually they knew that if this is the value that I'm already getting on day one, over the next 6 months, it will multiply. And we'll also be able to bring in those marketing automations here.
I see. So you have enough value because of the way that your platform works, such that if customers did have that existing data, you could, it's not as good as it obviously would be now, but it was sufficient to deliver an optimization, whether it's in terms of revenue or in terms of operational costs, in order for them to be interested and give the platform a go?
Excuse me, yes, because we should understand that value comes from two things, right? One is if I'm able to optimize what I'm already doing, that also delivers me value. And second, if
Yeah,
I can, of course, grow and increase more, then that gives me another value. So our aim was to go and take a stab at both sides of things because of the way we've developed this platform.
I see. No, that makes sense. So in terms of the types of retailers and commerce brands that you've got on the platform, as well as your ambition, is there a particular size or scale of company or brand that this tends to work best with?
Yeah, we know, Matthew, that the top 10% of the companies would never use us because they, irrespective, this is the technology that we've developed, with a lot of them don't use. But
Yeah.
they're very large. They play with that amount of data. They have their in-house development teams to do whatever things.
Mm.
Our main and major focus is for the segment who struggles the most with this is the small and medium sector, companies, the ones who would go and choose a Shopify to sell their
Okay.
products, for example, right? On an average, we've seen that companies using Shopify, they host about 1 to 50 employees. Most of the time, it's 1 to 20 employees, and they're small teams trying to run helter skelter for everything. They need to look at the product, they need to look at customer care, they look at pricing, marketing, shipment logistics, customer support. And because you have lack of resources, our platform helps them with marketing automation. So in the simplest way, once you go and set a rule in our platform, every time if I go back to a particular website once a week, I'm automatically shown different uh, offers
Yeah.
without anybody intervening there. All they can do is go and check the results to see, how this so-called logic is performing. If they think that they need to go and change something, they can go and change some kind of things and then track. But once you
Yeah.
set that rules in place, it really helps them in doing what they really are supposed to do rather than trying to do things like this.
Yeah. It sounds like certainly for those type of merchants that are on Shopify and other platforms like that, that yeah, they probably are very busy and probably don't have they certainly won't have the in-house teams and capabilities to do anything, anywhere close to what you're describing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, I'm just looking at the pricing page and the list of features on the website as well. It seems like you've got a pretty well thought out set of different tiers of features and prices. I wonder if you could kind of describe briefly how you have approached that, how you decided on what those tiers should be, how you decided to price those.
Sure. I think that goes back, if we look at it, the previous question that you asked is how can we deliver value? And we understand that we wanted to deliver value, which I said, if one is reducing the operation time and second is really doing the incremental revenue value.
Yeah.
So when you can, first of all, we have a free tier. Anybody who wants to send under 1,000 notifications a month can go and sign up. No credit card needed, nothing. They go and experience the platform. Because we are early stage as well, we keep on talking to our customers to understand what they think. How can we try to save every second and every click on the platform as well? So it's
Yeah.
very important for us. And then the lower side of the first two tiers are more about people giving access to the design element of the platform,
Okay.
where they can go and create those unlimited designs and then deliver that experience. In fact, very soon we're also launching a feature that you can go and create a template, very Canva style on our interface, and
Yeah.
then press a button, and AI would generate 20 versions of that particular template using your brand colors. Right? Then you can just go and pick and choose from it what looks best for you and then deliver that. So the template creation and delivery when it comes to overall operations can be done in the first couple of tiers.
Yeah.
But when we are really talking about that one-to-one generation, That's available, with our premier tier, because it also needs that computation. It also needs that whole cloud expenditure spend, because we are trying to generate an image for every single user at scale.
Yeah, I see.
And that's where the revenue also goes very high. So customers need to think in this way that, most of them focus on acquisition. They need to understand that it's 5 times easier to sell to an existing customer rather than selling to somebody new, because you'll end
Yeah.
up paying so much money on digital ads. And just a 5% increase in retention can increase your revenue by up to 80%. And that's what Cooee focuses on: the repeat purchases, the upsell, cross sell, that marketing automation, so that the customer that comes in, we understand what they're looking for. And notifications should be the way for them to find what they're looking for very fast, just a
Yeah.
click of a button. We in Cooee, we have a philosophy where we believe notifications should be like Google search. You go and then you just get exactly what you want with less number of clicks and less number of hops. And that is what we are trying to change, because traditionally we don't like notifications. They have that negative connotation to it. They're spammy,
Yeah.
they are impersonal. That's the first thing, Matthew, you do once you wake up in the morning. You just remove all your notifications from your phone,
Yeah.
because they are just so generic. And we are trying to change it by this one-to-one personalization.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. And I think, yeah, the way you've described the feature set and working through those tiers as well makes a lot of sense. So it seems like you've certainly got good alignment between not just your operational costs in terms of the cloud infrastructure required to deliver it as you go up the tiers, but there's a good increase in value across those tiers as well. So yeah, once customers do come on, they'll see some results, and then they're driven to try a little bit more in terms of more advanced personalization methods, etc.
And eventually, we we really want to change these chairs in such a way that the customers feel we have more skin in the game. We would
Okay.
want to change our the pricing model to a value-based model,
Mm.
where we want to go and say that, hey, Mr. Brand, if I'm able to generate those X £100 for you every month, give me a share of that incremental value, right?
I see.
That's going to be huge, but as most of the guys listening to this, and very well, Matthew, value-based pricing is a very tough thing to crack. We are an early stage company, so we need the revenues kicking in for all the things. But eventually, if I was a customer, I would know that I can onboard a platform where if they are offering me value, then I share a percentage of the value they create for me, and hopefully we can achieve that in the coming years.
Absolutely. I think it's always an interesting topic of discussion, and I know many brands have experimented with implementing different forms of value alignment and pricing structures based on that, as opposed to usage-based pricing tiers, which I think don't always provide value. It's not uncommon to see anything usage-based, reach a tipping point where all of a sudden, it starts off very good value, but then all of a sudden, because of increased usage, the costs can start to spiral out of control, yet they're only getting an incremental amount of additional value compared to when they were paying a lot less potentially.
Yeah, and it's a tough call. Markets change, people's perception change. You need to continuously keep on changing and experimenting, right? So I don't think anyone in the world knows the answer. What's the perfect thing? Because it's different for different things. Just to
Yeah.
substantiate what you're saying, Matthew, like I love HubSpot for what they do. Amazing company, of course, grown, whatever. But they have this pricing plan which is 90% off for startups, and if
Yep.
you have revenue under whatever, which is a perfect way to bring a customer in. However, I know a lot of people who do not use HubSpot for that reason. Is they calculate how much they'll have to pay right from the second year.
Yes.
The delta between 90% and even if it's 75% is so huge for them that remains such a big hindrance for them to onboard new customers. So, but again, I'm just saying this is just a small example, and I'm sure they have their math and they have their research behind. But from a customer perception, I think value is quite an important thing, and that has to be the inherent proposition on all the pricing plans.
Absolutely. I think buyers now are a lot more used to buying different types of SaaS products, subscription-based products. And I think they are doing that maths more than they perhaps were before. If they work out what their growth plans are and everything else, I think they are a lot more aware of and hear other stories of people, using the HubSpots and Intercoms and other products as well, where they have, fallen foul of their own success and seen those prices start to massively ramp up. So I think it definitely does speak to different buyer kind of behaviors as well as levels of buyer awareness. So I think it's definitely going to be interesting to watch where a lot of these other companies may have to adjust those pricing tiers to be more value based, as you say.
Yeah, and just to throw some numbers at that, Matthew, just the SME sector globally is going to spend about 120 billion on SaaS in 2023, and on customer engagement platforms they're going to spend upwards of 20 billion.
Yeah,
right. Just in a year. So there's a huge market. Like digital customer on e-commerce, I think even our customers, they are spoiled by choice today.
Yeah.
There's not just one guy who can come and say, this is the only thing. I think it's overall value, what they can get, which is what we are trying to do by not just increase in revenue, but also operational cost, and trying to couple all this with a unique value proposition, which no other platform's offering at the moment. We're looking forward to, seeing how this pans out in the coming months and years.
No, absolutely. I look forward to seeing that develop as well. And would you say that's really your competitive advantage at the moment, is in the technology, the models you've been able to train and the way you've been able to integrate them, as well as the pricing and positioning of that?
I would say that, Matthew, that the way we combine these multiple AI algorithms to create that unique image for every single user at scale, I haven't seen anyone else doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And again, our focus is on notifications at the moment. It's a small part of the entire digital experience industry, but we want to just have a razor sharp focus on one small thing, try to solve that properly, grow, and then, do the other things. Like, we can easily deliver omni-channel. This image that we create, like I was talking earlier, we can deliver it over email or a WhatsApp or, some other channels.
Yeah.
But we didn't start with that because we want to do it. Hopefully people will be able to see, and this is the best level of personalization that we can deliver to our customers, where by 2040, 95% of all the purchases are going to be via the internet. So personalization is just going to be more and more important. And a small point there, we do this all with first-party data. We don't integrate with the Facebook and Twitters and LinkedIn or the other ad networks. So everything that is coming is what the user knows. They have accepted for it. They are giving it to the brand. And then we are delivering the experience what they, deserve.
I see. I think that's really interesting. I think that's interesting from a couple of perspectives. I think there's obviously the trust perspective and people being buyers, customers being more aware of how third-party data is used and utilized, as well as, the Apples, the Googles, the introducing more restrictions around, cross-platform tracking and all those other elements as well. So I think that's really interesting, but I think also it does keep that personalization within the customer's experience of that brand and how they are choosing to engage with that brand. Yeah.
So again, a statistics came out some, months back. I think it was a Gartner research that about 65% of customers now expect personalization by default.
Yeah.
But most of the small and medium brands still struggle to even understand what is customer data. Forget about, generating insights and delivering something out of it. So we hope Cooee can really make a difference to their brand, not just from revenue perspective, but also of what people talk about. And, those viral things really help in today's world of social media.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's only going to matter more as time goes on and people expect more. But I think even if people are not consciously aware of what those expectations are, I think like the example you gave earlier is talking about Stranger Things. I think people used to engaging with these bigger tech platforms, they may not be consciously aware of why those platforms seem to work so well for them because of these elements of personalization and other things that are going on behind the scenes.
And I think that's the beauty of it, Matthew. That when you're trying to deliver a tech so nicely blended in the UI UX of your product, where the customer doesn't understand that it's a third party element or something spammy, that's where you have found the perfect balance between data and design, which is pivotal. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to solve something like this for the brands who have signed up with us and upcoming future.
No, absolutely. And what do you see the kind of evolution of Cooee looking like? What's your vision? What are your growth plans? What are you focusing on now?
We see the internet shopping e-commerce space growing. I know there is a slump we're talking about at the moment, given how things are, but I see this is temporary, or maybe things were inflated, but they're going to come back in the next year or so. But me sitting at home and trying to buy different things at the comfort of my sofa is just going to increase.
Yeah.
The way we see is, and what we've already started working on is delivering augmented reality based experiences for products embedded in your notifications. So today you get a notification saying, "Hey Matthew, this is a new sofa for you," or "This is a new, pair of Nike sneakers for you."
Yeah.
And then you go and click there, and it shows the picture of the Nike shoe. Instead, just clicking on the button there, it will open an augmented reality experience where you can bring forward your feet and then actually check the shoe right there and click and buy. That's something we are betting really big on.
Interesting.
It'll solve two different kind of use cases. One, it will give you an idea of how the product really looks like. For a lot of things, you can place the product or even go and turn it around 360 degree, check the size, and this can all be done exactly to scale.
Yeah.
And second is the virtual try-on space: clothing, jewelry, accessory, fashion, watches, footwear, all these e-commerce products is where customers will be able to try that on straight there. And early trials of augmented reality based e-commerce transactions are showing a very, very positive sign of conversion rates by up to 70%.
Wow, that's pretty.
Which is huge. And another thing that it really helps with is the reduction in your returns, which is a very high operational cost as well for brands.
Yeah.
So that's where we see the evolution going. And in the next year, our SaaS platform will allow customers to, automatically run these augmented reality based engagement.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting for both of those reasons you mentioned, both on the conversion side as well as reducing the operational cost of returns rate. And I myself have noticed a couple of brands starting to experiment with that, whether it's the other day I was looking at a new monitor for my desk from LG, and they had exactly that augmented reality experience. And my hesitation was, I don't know how big this is going to be on my desk. I know what the size is, in terms of numbers, but how is that going to feel on my desk? And they provided exactly that AR experience to enable that. And another example was a watch I think my wife was looking at. They'd integrated that as well, so she could actually visualize it on her wrists, turn her wrist around, see the watch from different angles, and really experience that without having to go anywhere to do that.
Yeah. So as consumers, right, this has instant value for us. And again, big brands can do this. They've been working on this for quite some time. Amazon started the whole AR experience shopping in the US. A lot of those versions are available in the UK as well. I know some of the brands in the UK, like Next and some others, also offer that furniture AR. But what we're taking this a step further, is when we come up with a recommendation for a particular product for a user and then deliver that in AR, that's going to be even that immersive experience personalized to you.
A level even beyond just the augmented experience, but personalizing it on top.
Yeah. So again, on AR, we can talk about some numbers there. 250 million people look at the AR filters every day on Snapchat. Every day, Matthew. And that generates about 6 billion impressions on a daily basis. And that's just one single AR from a brand. So for example, McDonald's come up with a new burger filter. 250 million people are looking at that every day. Cooee can generate 250 million unique immersive experiences at scale for them. And that's where we are heading towards.
Well, I think that's fascinating in terms of potential and opportunity. And I look forward to seeing how Cooee develops, how you manage to tackle that. And, it'd be interesting to have you on again when you're a bit further down the line and talk about some of the learnings you've had from that, some of the results you've seen from being able to deploy that as well. It definitely sounds really, really interesting, and definitely that combination of that improved AR experience combined with the level of personalization you've got just certainly sounds like a very, very valuable combination of technology.
Yeah, indeed. And I'd love to, chat up with you further down the line to also learn from you what all are the other products that you're buying online using AR, so that we can also go and, build those things around it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And no, I think be respectful of your time today, but I think we've covered quite a lot of really, really interesting points, and I hope the audience has been able to take away a lot from this on a value-based approach to developing and delivering products, as well as some insight from the commerce and buying behavior side as well. But before we wrap things up, is there anything you'd like to kind of leave our audience with in terms of lessons that you've personally learned from building your business to date?
The only thing I'd like to say this to everybody is entrepreneurship is hard. A lot of people will say that they understand. They don't. That's just the reality of it. But when you're trying to build something, I think what matters most is your conviction. Right? What's in your head, people will not be able to see. They'll not be able to imagine. If you believe in what you're doing, go on with it. Take small steps every single day, and you might end up delivering something completely different than what you had thought of. But every single day you improve. So what matters most is your drive, and if you keep on going, I'm sure you'll reach where you wanted to. So I'm trying to do the same. I wish you do the same as well.
Fantastic. I think that's excellent advice and a great place to wrap things up for today, at least. So Shwetank, thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. And I'm sure our audience will get a lot for this as well. So thank you again. And I hope we speak soon.
No, thank you so much, Matthew, for giving me the opportunity, and it was lovely chatting up with you. Looking forward to further interactions and learning from everyone who's listening to this. Feel free to reach out to me in case I can help anybody in anything at all. Thank you again, Matthew.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Inside the Scale Up. Remember, for the show notes and in-depth resources from today's guest, you can find these on the website insidethescaleup.com. You can also leave feedback on today's episode, as well as suggest guests and companies you'd like to hear from. Thank you for listening.